Is it going to be,
What's
are
up?
you going to be able to edit some parts out
Oh,
or?
yeah.
Okay. Great.
Yeah, so the
So
way
no
that,
pressure.
no, no, I mean, and also like I suggest to my interviewees, if there is for example, a sentence that you feel like you kind of stumble through, if you just want to
Yeah.
like go back and start it over, like it's really no issue. You don't have to try to push through it.
Yeah, perfect.
So I want to add you to Mac's interview because
Right.
I think that his story is going to be so much better with you in it. And I think that having the two of you, I'm going to split it up over 2 weeks. So it's going to be like a part
Okay.
one and a part two. And so I just
Okay.
want to kind of have you walk through working with him, how that started, how you got into skiing in the first place, and how that
Hmm.
transitioned into becoming a guide. Because I think that that's such an interesting niche. And I want to just kind of
Yeah.
work through how you got to that point.
Yeah, like I started ski racing when I was 13 years old. I was playing AAA hockey until then. So didn't really have time for ski racing in the programs on the weekends, but my dad always worked at the ski hill full time as either a coach or um ski school head of the ski school or something like that. So I spent like an enormous amount of time as a kid at the ski hill, kind of just hanging out or skiing or at the cafeteria drinking hot chocolate, whatever. And yeah, and then I kind of decided at 13 after having um like spent the season out because of a concussion that I wanted to move on from playing hockey. And I think here in Canada at like 13, 14, that's when you kind of start to like make the AAA teams and travel more and stuff like that. And not only was I not good enough for that, I think financially it was going to be difficult. And I don't think I was ready to make that step. So yeah, transitioned to ski racing and kind of progressed through the ranks. Um, we struggled, I think, financially with the sport, but my dad stepped in as my coach and kind of made it work for me, which I'm incredibly lucky and thankful for. Because without him, like it never would have worked out. So that's kind of how he made it work. And yeah, eventually I was ski racing out of the Montreal Ski Club, kind of as a not as an independent, but working kind of with my dad and traveling to races with him and stuff, and taking courses out of the University of Ottawa at the same time. And that's when Mac's guy Jack Leach was getting ready to retire. So the head coach of the Montreal Ski Club was Mac's old coach, and he had been notified that Jack was retiring. And he kind of sent us an email and he said, "Hey, Tristan, this would be a good idea. I think you should try it out." And at first, I wasn't so sure because, I was finally kind of hitting my stride and starting to ski faster and stuff. But um, I thought it would be ridiculously silly to even miss the opportunity to try it and see if I liked it. And flew down to Mount Hood and yeah, Mac and I connected for 5 days of training, and yeah, the rest is history, I guess. We just kind of snowballed from there and really enjoyed skiing with each other. And um, yeah.
So how did you initially in your head come to terms with the fact that you were going to be essentially guiding this person and letting them put their safety in your hands?
Um, I
Because
think what also
that's
hit
a
me,
sizable task to undertake.
yeah, I was super nervous about it for a while. Um, if I can just tell a funny story, when we came down to Portland, I met Mac in the airport. We drive to Mount Hood, and both him and I were coming from Ontario, so we'd had long travel days and whatever. So get back to the hotel and drop our packs off, kind of make some food, go to bed, wake up the next morning to go skiing. And Mac had forgotten one of his boot boards, which is a super important piece of equipment. It kind of sits in the bottom of your ski boot and makes it flat. Because if not, you have this kind of weird molded plastic shape that you have to stick your foot in. So it's very essential piece of equipment, and Mac had forgotten his at home. Just with the chaos of getting home from the games and unpacking and having all these ski boots, something had gone wrong somewhere. So, I figured I was so nervous that first day. And then when he let me know, he said, I forgot my boot board. I don't think I'll be skiing much. I said, oh, thank God, like I can't screw up worse than that, you know? So I think that took a lot of pressure off, just to see how casual he was and how relaxed he was about the that training camp in particular, using that as kind of a stepping stone for the two of us. And yeah, I think being in charge of, or having the responsibility of Mac's safety is, um it's not entirely accurate, because he's very independent. He can ski by himself. But at the same time, you're not wrong. A lot of my decisions affect our speed or our line choice and things like that. So it is really important for me to keep that in mind and be aware of the fact that my decisions are not only affecting me but also somebody else. And it comes down to being calm, being really focused, being in the moment, and making the right decisions, and the right decisions about what words to use. And I think that's the one of the biggest things that I've learned is just staying calm in those kind of moments of holy cow.
So when you first met Mac, I mean, what was the conversation like? Because this was not a new concept to him, but this was your first experience.
Yeah, I think Mac knew exactly what he wanted from a guide, which made my job incredibly easy. We would get down to the bottom of the run, and he'd say, something like, um, you use this word, but I don't like that. Use this one instead. Okay, easy, done. Like, okay, next. And things like that. And he he was very experienced, obviously, having skied for 2 years with Jack, and then 4 years before that with his brother. And having gone to already two games, and being incredibly successful at World Cup racing and World Championships and the Paralympics. He's had the experience. He knows what he needs, and he made that really clear, and had really good communication for the both of us starting. Yeah.
So when you're looking at the very top of the hill, I was talking to Mac about what kind of goes through his head. What goes through yours?
Um, so Mac and I do a really good job of inspecting together and making a game plan, finding lots of times we'll be on new hills. So we'll kind of name each section depending on, a feature or a coach that's standing there. Um, and we'll kind of break it down into sections. And, every section represents something different. If it's, for example, a section where we need to slow down and make good technical moves to, ensure that we finish the race, or if it's a section where we can really put the hammer down and try and make up some time on our competitors. We I think we do a good job of making that game plan. So when I'm sitting at the top of the hill, I'm just thinking about um, that plan, and what's going to put me in the best position to execute that. I think we do a lot of visualization, either separately or together. And um, it's funny. It's almost like a script that you practice. You remember each word that he's going to recognize, that he's going to know, and like the order at which they come. And yeah, from there you just try and, like I said, put yourself in the best place to execute that plan. And then once that's done, then you did everything you could. I think the cool part about ski racing is you never ever ever know what's going to happen to everybody else. All you know is what's going to happen to you, and that's all you're kind of in control of. So you try your best, and then the rest is not in your hands.
Yeah, I had a couple episodes ago, I had an American ski racer on, and he was just talking about how he had a terrible injury in Italy. He broke his tib fib, and we were just talking about the longevity of ski racing in terms of a career choice. And he was like, if you get to 35, that's a long career. And I think he was like 17 when he broke his literally broke his leg and had to be airlifted off a mountain. So
Hmm.
that does not seem like an unfamiliar story within your community. Is that correct? I mean, is that kind of like a rite of passage to break something?
um yeah, knock on wood, but I've never been injured in ski racing. Like obviously maybe a concussion, or a sprained thumb, ankle, but nothing like that, thankfully. Um, I think if I can speak a little bit on the longevity aspect,
Sure.
in my opinion, in my experience, I think the most important thing is enjoying the sport and having fun. And I think it's one thing to put your head down and grind it out and really disregard everything from the social aspect to the travel to you know and it's one thing to put your head down and focus only on the task at hand. And I think you find success from that. A lot of athletes have, and a lot of athletes will. But if you're looking for longevity in the sport, I think you need to broaden your horizons and enjoy all aspects of it, whether it be the people and the community and the places that you get to see. And um, I think that's probably the most important part for promoting longevity in ski racing is to find the enjoyment piece and that fun factor. Because we are extremely, extremely lucky that we get to practice a sport where improving is so much fun. Like you just get to do your sport to get better at it, right? You're not. I always think of Nordic skiing, and they just suffer so much to improve, but we're so lucky that we get to enjoy it so much, and the process of getting better is so much fun.
So you were talking earlier about just visualization. So on this podcast, I bring a lot of sports psychologists on to talk about the mental preparation that goes into elite performance. And so many of them have talked about visualization. Could you walk me through a little bit of the process? Like, for example, the script that you use for visualization post or pre-competition?
Yeah, I think like for Mac and I, when we do break down the course into those sections and we have those keywords, um, excuse me, our visualization is just kind of you know going through those steps, and every section kind of has a different feature or a different rhythm in the course. So just for example, coming out of the start, a little bit turny. Okay, we're going to go over example in panorama. The first feature is basketball, and if there's like a double under basketball, then it'll be okay over basketball. Left foot double, turny section onto the flats, something like that. Keeping it really simple and really making sure that Mac knows what's coming without overloading him with information, because he is fairly independent and he is able to remember those sections, and with my information kind of recognize where he is in the course and know what's going to be coming up. So yeah, just almost like a reminder of where he is, because for me, I can see 2, 3 gates ahead. I scan constantly the course to see where we're at and what's coming up. And Mac doesn't have that ability, right? He can just kind of hardly see my yellow jacket and my boots, and the snow texture is fairly difficult for him to process and kind of recognize the bumpier sections. So that's also something that I'll talk about. And yeah, I think just trying to keep it simple and make it as precise but not overwhelming as I can.
So can you define some terminology for me? I mean, what are some key terms that you guys would go over before you go down?
Um,
Because he was talking about how you have to process so quickly, and not only for yourself, but also to translate back to him. So what are some like spur of the moment terms that you will throw out in order to re-associate him with where he is on the course?
I think maybe some terms that we use often are just in relation to the rhythm in the course. So if I say tourney, then he knows like he's got to have more direction in his skiing, and if I say okay, let her go, then he knows that he can kind of trust the ski and trust my line, and let the gravity pull him down the hill without worrying about if he's going to make the next gate. Um, a lot of the terminology is the importance are the words that you don't use, like the oh my god, or things that are really negative or surprising, because I think that has a bigger effect than using the right words is to use the wrong words, and that's where you can go wrong, I think, in a lot of ways, because if you had your eyes closed and you were following someone and they were like holy cow, like the first thing you do is stand up and kind of like brace yourself for something, and a lot of those times it's like pretty unnecessary. Like Mac's really strong, he's usually able to make it through those difficult sections, and I have a lot of trust in him that he will. So um yeah, I think it's less about the words that you're using and more about the words that you shouldn't use.
So what leads up to a ski guide retiring?
The blind guy retiring.
Is that really like the end? I mean, because
Yeah, I don't know. I'll be done after the games in China, after Beijing 2022. That's when I'm going to be finished guiding Mac. It'll been 4 years. Unfortunately, Mac being on and off with injury, we haven't gone to race that much, but we've done a boatload of skiing together and learned way, way, way more than I ever thought I would. And being able to practice different sports with Mac has made this journey incredibly more meaningful and more, fulfilling for me than it would be if we solely ski race together. Um, from free skiing and mountain biking to, playing golf or whatever it is, learning all these new things with Mac and how to guide him through it has been really, really incredible. And I think that's what made these 4 years like really special, is doing way more than just ski racing. Um, but yeah, unfortunately, only had eight starts with Mac on the World Cup. Thankfully, looking back, we haven't lost, and we won all 8 of those races. But yeah, that's gonna be it.
well, I'd say an 8 for 8 record is not too shabby.
Yeah, I think we got to keep the streak going this winter, and but no expectations for the results. I'm really excited to get back in the start gate with Mac, and after almost, it's going to be close to 2 years of no racing. I'm just excited to see where we're at and see if we still got it.
So let's go back to your very first interaction with him. What drew you to him initially, like right off the bat, the very first meeting of you two?
Okay, I got to think about this one. Um, I think the first thing that I recognized about Mac is how clear he is in his expectations of the guide. Um, Obviously, I talked about his experience and how, he's had those that time on snow and that time to recognize like what he needs and understand that. And I think the thing that impressed me the most is just how easy he made it for me. Um, I was obviously extremely nervous the first time we skied together, but he made it clear that, it's okay, you're gonna make mistakes and all that. And I thought that right off the bat I had to be perfect. And he was like, what the heck are you talking about? We gotta figure this out first. And um, he was very like I said, precise about what he wanted me to do and my role in that jacket and in that um kind of guide role. He made it really easy for me. Um,
So he was coming right off of skiing with his brother and then came to you.
he was coming off of skiing with Jack.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah,
Jack was in the middle between
exactly. Yeah,
BJ and you.
Jack had worked with Mac for 2 years
Oh, okay.
after BJ. Yeah.
So let's talk also about building camaraderie between someone like Mac and someone like you, who are just on very, very different wavelengths, but are like forced to literally do everything together. I mean,
Yeah.
training, eating, and everything.
They say opposites attract, and I think that's the case for Mac and I. We have different hobbies outside of ski racing. He's really into, the motorsports and stuff like that. And I'd rather do things outside, you know, still in nature, but without the use of a two-stroke engine and stuff like that. But I think what makes Mac and I work so well together is seeing each other's perspective and being really adaptable and being able to put ourselves in each other's shoes and understanding, knowing each other so well, we're able to be sympathetic towards each other and kind of have that give and take relationship where if he's not feeling too good, then I can do my best to bring him up and vice versa. And, understanding um, the other person's emotions and how they're feeling and kind of being able to scan that at the beginning of the day and see what the vibes are. And yeah, I think that's made it easy to work together. And Mac and I have become best friends through this. And um, I I don't know. It's a relationship that I think is going to continue past my retirement. I hope, Mac, if you're watching, don't don't ghost me. But um, yeah, I think it's gonna be interesting to see where our relationship is gonna take us. And I think that if we can continue to work together in the free ski world and more in mountain biking as well, I know that I've got a lot of work to do as a mountain bike guide because I usually just get in my head and take off or am way too slow or kind of we've got a lot of work to do in that aspect. But I think if we can continue to work together in other sports and kind of push the boundaries of what is possible for disabled sport in a broader aspect than just the classic Paralympic sports, I think that'll be really special.
So now that we see more of an influx of media attention for Paralympic sports, where does that put you in
Um,
your advocacy of these disabled athletes?
yeah, I think my perspective's really unique, being an able-bodied athlete in a disabled sport. And I think that it's one thing to kind of go through the motions and do my job as a guide and I can be really satisfied with that. I can look back and say that I did a good job. I did what I had to do, and I filled out all the criteria and stuff like that. But I think if I can use my experience for more than just that, and use my experience to create awareness and bring more attention to the fact that there are so many possibilities for disabled athletes in sport. Um, I always thought that um, it's important for athletes to know that they shouldn't do the sport that they should do the sport that they want. And if that means going out and riding a dirt bike, then you know it's got to become more accessible. And if that means that they want to get into free skiing, then I'm really, really proud to be able to carve that path with Mac and kind of broaden their horizons for what it means to be a disabled skier.
So, what does it take to build that chemistry off the course? Because you are together all the time. I mean, what if you didn't like each other? How would that relationship change?
Really short. It would have been a short relationship. I think I would have been fired after a week if he didn't like me. Um, but I think one thing that makes us really close is that kind of um, we have kind of a big brother, little brother relationship. He's a bit older than me, and he's a lot more mature than I am. So he's always teasing me and stuff like that. But I give it back, and we have that chemistry, and we're able to play pranks on each other and really keep it as casual as we can outside of ski racing. Because, like I said, about longevity in the sport. It's one thing if we just go home and we only work and we talk about ski racing exclusively, and we're really focused, and all we do is our recovery and our nutrition, and that's it. But I think what's made the last 4 years so much fun is the fact that we can talk about so much more, and kind of be you know two guys just on the road, go out and explore different places, and have a lot of fun, and really disconnect from ski racing, and just enjoy where we're at in the moment.
So, let's talk about what it takes to become a guide. I mean, you got in it kind of through someone who knew someone who knew someone. Is
Hmm.
that the general way that someone able-bodied gets into ski racing as a guide? Or
I
do they
think
just kind of
so.
have to start from somewhere else?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of ways that you can kind of get into it. I was approached by somebody else, and I'm really lucky for that. I think that I got the best job in the world, and that was only because of luck. But there are other ways you can reach out to. In here in Canada, we have CADS, which is the Canadian Association for Disabled Skiing, and I know that they're always looking for people to guide or tether sit skiers and stuff like that. So there are a lot of ways to get involved. Kind of at the um, in terms of the high performance level, like being a guy on the World Cup team, I think there's, right now I'm I'm the only one on the A team. There's another one on the development team now that's kind of stepping up as of this year. Logan Leach is a visually impaired skier. He's 17 years old from Vernon, BC, and his guide Julian just started working with him a couple years ago, and they just made the team now. So in the whole country, there's two of us. Um, so it is and for the last 3 years, it was only myself. It is a really, unique job. I don't think that, um, there are too many opportunities at this high performance level to do what I'm doing. But at the same time, there are ways to get involved, and yeah. But in my case, I just got lucky.
So, in the event that something happens to you in a run, I was watching a
Don't say that.
documentary. I was talking to Mac about this as well because I was watching the documentary that you two were featured in, and there was footage of you just biting it. And I asked Mac about that, and I was like, so what happens if Tristan falls? Like, what happens to you? And he was like, well, we just restart it. But in the event that that is a larger stakes non-practice run, I mean, what are the implications of that?
Yeah, again, knock on wood, but
Yeah, sorry,
so
I'm
far
like, really?
in ski racing, like that's never happened. Up to date since Mount Hood, I have a 100% finish rate. Um, Thankfully, the only time I fall was caught on a video documentary on YouTube with 50,000 views. So love that for me. Thank you very much. And but yeah, in the case where it is, you know, for example, if it happens in the World Cup or at the games, World Championships, it's something that, you know, I prepare for, and mentally, you know, you kind of understand that that's a possibility. And I think in that case, the only thing that kind of can save you and bring you back in terms of confidence is knowing that until then you did everything you could to ensure that doesn't happen. Every training run for Mac and I is a chance for me to solidify my technique and my kind of approach to guiding Mac. I think that for me, always getting better at skiing and improving and getting faster and faster and faster has allowed me to be a lot more confident guiding Mac. I know that when I, you know, put the orange jacket on and we're getting ready to, you know, drop into a GS run or something like that, then I have the ability to do that without making any mistakes. Yeah, like I said, if you do make a mistake, then you know that you did everything you could, and yeah, I think just no regrets and making sure that when you look back at it, you tried to make it perfect, and it's not always going to be that way, because we are in a sport where there are so many things that can go wrong.
Let's talk about the radio communication, because that message is being relayed how long before you actually get there? And then how long
um
before he actually gets there? I mean, what's the margin of time before he gets to whatever you're telling him about?
oh yeah, I understand. So I think, you know, going so fast in the speed disciplines, like I've got to be aware of the fact that by the time he processes the information that I'm giving him, he'll usually be around the spot where I was. Um, I think in the tech disciplines, I can be a little bit more, a little bit quicker with the information because the speeds are a lot slower. For example, in slalom, if I'm coming into a combo, then I can tell him kind of when I get into it, I'll say hairpin or something like that, and he'll know that the next gate is a hairpin. But for example, in speed, if I'm in the double and I'm telling him, okay, left foot double or something like that, then usually by then he's already done it. And you know, so I've got to be aware of how fast we're going and the timing that I have to deliver that message. But in terms of delay, I think the radios are really, really, really good, and there's no delay. It's kind of like being on a conference call when you're skiing. I don't know if Mac used that analogy, but yeah, it's just like being on a phone call, and yeah, just being aware of the pace and kind of the timing of those messages is, I think, the most important.
So you're retiring potentially, I mean, less than a year from now. So what do you do after that?
No, I don't know.
Just no plans. We'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of options, but there's no plans. Yeah.
So what do most guides do once they're done with that period of their life?
I think you look at BJ, he went to school for a year and kind of figured out what he wanted to do as a career. Same thing for Jack. He went to school. Thankfully, I've been kind of studying along the way. I'm already through couple of years of my engineering degree at the University of Ottawa, so I'll have a head start on that. But yeah, hopefully finish that up and kind of get started on a career outside of ski racing. But I think there are some unfinished projects in my mind that I'd like to tackle before I start a career. So I think I'm gonna focus on that and take some time to do all the things that I want to do.
So why not go and help someone else and guide someone else? Because it seems like the guide turnover is pretty quick. I mean,
Um,
was that ever a thought that you would
I,
do somewhere else?
no, I think if there is an opportunity, I think, well, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Like I said, there's a lot of options, but I don't know what I'm gonna do yet.
So
Maybe scrap that. I don't know. I don't know.
yeah, we'll leave that part out.
Yeah. No
So
questions about the future.
no more questions about injury or the future. Let's just dabble in what happens when you get to the bottom. I mean, what is that excitement level? Because Mac talked to me probably for about 2.5 minutes about just getting to the bottom and how excited it was to go through it and then be done and know that you completed it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of excitement. For me, it's mostly relief. Kind of being able to thank God that worked out or something like that, And the special part about guiding a visually impaired skier is you get to see the scoreboard before they do, and you get to break that news to them if they did well or not. You kind of have a gut feeling if you had a good run, but you never know, like I said, how everybody else performed. So for the guy to be able to look at the scoreboard and see green and break that news to the athlete, I think is the most special part of the day. And sharing that enjoyment together in the finish is really, really special. And it's unique because like I said, you're the one who gets to break that news to the athlete. Thankfully we've never gone to the bottom and seen red, but I'm sure that's going to be difficult. It's going to happen eventually, and got to be prepared for that. But yeah, we're just going to focus on seeing green and being happy in the finish for now.
So what year did you start skiing with Mac?
I started skiing with Mac June 2018, kind of right after Jack had retired. And yeah.
So you were not with him for the Paralympics that year.
No, my first games with Mac are going to be coming up here in 2022 in Beijing. So yeah, really excited for that.
So are you exactly where you want to be right now? Or
Yeah.
you have,
Yeah.
I mean, you said you had unfinished business, but currently in this moment, do you like where you are?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that from a kind of a life career standpoint, I don't think there's a place I'd rather be. I have the best job in the world. I feel extremely thankful to the organization and to my coaches, and even more than all that, I feel thankful to Mac for allowing me to have this experience and being so, easygoing through all these difficult times. And from a more performance standpoint, I think, I'm where I want to be in terms of my mental performance, taking the last year during COVID to, shift the focus from guiding Mac to focusing on myself and all the flaws that I need to correct to be the best guide possible in this coming year. Whether that be working on my own skiing or mental strength through the various programs that we have with our mental strength coach. And I think that all of those kind of aspects of my skiing and my performance are kind of coming together. So I feel really ready. I feel very confident, and yeah, right where I want to be.
So, can you break down how much you need to work on you as opposed to working as the two of you?
Um, yeah, I think that uh, as a guide, I do, I think, more for myself than other guides have in the past. If, for example, we have a 2 week break from our training, and I have 2 weeks off of guiding Mac, I'll usually try and fill those 2 weeks with, training with either my home club in Motromo, or stay at the venue and train with their team, or whoever I can jump in with, really. And I think I just have to say how supportive the ski racing community here in Canada is of me, and allowing me to continue training. And um, I I think that, we spoke a little bit about the what if, like, what if I fall and what if things go wrong? Then in that case, I can look back and be reassured by the fact that I did everything I could to be the best version of myself in those situations. Um, I think it's important to, work on yourself and your own skiing and stuff like that too. But the most important, obviously, is guiding Mac. And as soon as that orange jacket's on and the headset's on my helmet, then I'm kind of a new person, and I kind of switch into that role. And once I'm in it, it's 100%. It's all about Mac. And yeah, it's been at the beginning a little bit difficult to make that switch, but now it's really fluid, and I feel like um, switching into that role has become really easy for me.
So, at the very beginning, did you ever talk to other guides to just kind of get the lay of the land and figure out what worked best for them? Or were you just kind of trying to figure out from Mac's perspective what he needed?
Yeah, I think just a combination of talking with the coaches, and hearing Mac's expectations of me, um, and also being really flexible and kind of adaptable, to, this new experience. And yeah, I think, I don't want to say winging it, because it sounds really uncalculated, but that's really what we do, is just kind of wing it and see what works and what doesn't. And by the time we hit the start one on race day, then, there's no more winging it. We know what works and we know what we need to do.
So, the American ski racer I was talking to, he likes to quote send it. And I was talking to him about how that from an outsider's perspective sounds rather reckless. And he
Hmm.
was like, "Well, what we do if I was not 100% focused on the current task would be reckless."
Hmm.
Do you agree with that? I mean, if you were
Yeah,
not completely in the flow state, focused on going down the mountain, is what you do reckless?
yeah, I think so. I think, um, Nancy Greenwood, who's a really big name in Canadian ski racing, kind of paving the way for Canadians and the sport on a world scale. She always said, "We don't take risk, we analyze risk." And I think that really speaks to me as a guide, being able to analyze all of the factors, and kind of decide where we need to, be a little bit more risky versus be more conservative, and make sure that, not only are we both safe, but we both complete the race, because you don't get a result if you don't finish. And I think that it's one thing to go, really, really all out and take a lot of risk, but I think it's another thing to be really calculated and be really methodical about where we want to push, and where we want to hold back a little bit, and just make sure we get by.
So when you're working with an athlete who has so many gold and silver and bronze medals, I mean, what kind of pressure does that put on you?
Um, I don't think Mac or I really feel any pressure from the results. I think we're both focus on the task at hand, and we both try and find as much enjoyment and fulfillment from ski racing as we can, and the results are kind of just a bonus. I mean, we are competitors, we are athletes, we do this to be the best, but in terms of pressure, I think that the pressure comes from creating a game plan and trying to execute it. And any ski racer will tell you that the result is kind of just what happens when it all goes well, but it's completely out of our control and can't change the past. So yeah, we just focus on the execution and the task at hand.
So what are some things that you yourself are currently working on?
Um,
I mean,
right now we're
is it mostly mental or is it physical?
I think it's a good mix of both. Right now we're in the gym. We've just wrapped up kind of since May full-time training, and we're going to go into our fitness testing this week and hopefully see where we stand. But in the off season, you kind of disconnect from ski racing and focus on your health and your conditioning and your physical state. And I think from a emotional and mental perspective, it's really important to always be checking in and seeing where you're at, because if you're not happy, something's got to change. I really do believe that your performance is kind of linked with your emotional state, and your physiology is so dependent on your stress and stuff like that. So I think it's important to keep everything under control and be really aware. And as athletes, we're so in tune with our bodies that we're able to detect when something's off. And as soon as you do feel that, I think it's important to take a step back and recognize where that comes from. And so yeah, I think that's where the mental aspect of it kicks in, is just continuously checking in with yourself and yeah, making sure that you're in the best place emotionally to do your job.
So have you worked ever with a sports psychologist on that mental piece?
Yeah, we're really lucky to be able to work with our sports psych, John Coleman. He does a lot for our team. Last summer with COVID and not being able to be on snow, he launched a mental strength training program for us to work on. And some of us took it really well, and others like me were really busy during the summer. Like I had 3 courses going in my engineering program, so I wasn't able to fully commit to it, but I tried my best and kind of continued to progress through that program throughout the fall. And when I was able to really get into it, it made a huge difference for me. Um, and yeah, we're very lucky to have those resources here in the team and in the organization.
So how important do you think that the mental side is on your eventual physical performance and execution?
Yeah, I think it's really important. I think that um, you know, having the mental state and the ability to perform is huge. But I also do believe that, you know, you are the same person you were yesterday, and physiologically nothing's changed. So if you're feeling a little off and you're not feeling like you're able to do it, it's important to remind yourself that, nothing's changed. And um in Tim Orlick's book, In Pursuit of Excellence, he talks a little bit about gymnasts who go through their warm up and don't feel like they're able to do it, or feel a little bit stressed or off. And he tries to remind them that it does matter, but it's not the end of the day. If you're having a bad day, you're still the same person you were when you were having the good days. And I think there's always that ability to find it from deep within to have a good performance, even when the mental side isn't there, or you're feeling tired or jet lagged or a little bit sick. And it's always possible to pull something out of you.
So when Mac may have a bad day or a bad run or a bad practice together, what do you tell him?
I just try and focus on the things that are going well. I think that you can't really be focusing on the fact that he's not feeling good, or it's a little bit of a different story when it comes to the injury point, because if he is not feeling good because of his knee or his back, then I think that's an area where I can't push at all, and that's got to come from him. But I think for the two of us, this really goes both ways. If we're feeling a little bit tired or a little bit unmotivated, then we just try and pump each other up and remind each other why we do it. And I think one thing that really gives us motivation is having a plan. And when you draw it out, kind of either mentally or physically on paper, when you're making your plan for the day, um, to kind of have objectives, like we're going to do an inspection and two free ski runs, and then we're going to do two runs of the best that we can, and that's it. And kind of having those things to look forward to, I think makes it a lot easier when we're not feeling well. Um, so yeah.
And is there anything else that you think that I should know that we
Hmm.
haven't touched on in this interview? Either about you personally or your work with Mac or Mac's trajectory or the ski racing world as a whole. I ask this
Yeah.
question just kind of in case you have something that you've been thinking about, talking about, and just kind of giving you the floor.
Um. Oh, hang on.
If the answer is no, then the answer is no. But
Yeah.
judging by your
No,
face, I don't feel as though the answer is no.
I just think it's important to mention how much more how oh, hang on, I gotta find the right words.
I'll be here when you do.
Yeah. um I think it's just important to mention how much bigger than just ski racing Mac's ambitions are. His plans and his dreams and his ideas go so much beyond just the sport of ski racing, and I think that being supportive of all that and being aware that Mac's vision isn't going to be there forever, it's progressively deteriorating. It's really, really important to keep in mind that, if he does need 2 weeks off during the winter to go ride a sled and be with his friends, then, that's a really huge part of his motivation in ski racing. And I think that being really adaptable and being really flexible in this job is what made us kind of successful. And being understanding of the fact that Mac needs those kind of fun moments throughout the season where he can disconnect from the sport. And he's been at it for 10 years, and I think that's what has allowed him to be successful throughout those 10 years, is the fact that he's able to disconnect and kind of progress in things outside of just the VNet. And watching him progress throughout the last 2 seasons in free skiing and filming that movie and stuff like that, I'm just really, really excited to see where we end up kind of in that aspect, and what kind of boundaries we're able to push, and see what kind of what kind of content or experiences we can create, and kind of create a new path for skiers.
So when do you start training for this upcoming Paralympic Games?
Yeah, you don't stop. I don't think you stop training ever. As soon as the snow melts and the winter season's over, you're right back in the gym and kind of working on all those things that made you feel weak. Whether it be, if you're rehabbing an ankle or you're trying to make your core stronger to support your back, all those things are extremely important to tackle during the off season, so that when you're back on snow, you feel stronger than ever and you're able to make it through that really long and grueling World Cup season.
And then, yeah, is there anything else that you want to include just before
I
we
don't I
before
don't
we
think so.
conclude?
No, I think I'm good. Thank you very
Awesome.
much.
So this will be, I'm going to split it up into two parts. So the first part will go out on Wednesday, and then the next part will come out a week from Wednesday.
Okay.
And I'm really excited to just put this together because I think that you two are so interesting and you're so like you just exude nice energy. And so it doesn't surprise me at all that you two work so well together.
Yeah. No, it's been an incredibly fun journey, and obviously I'm thankful for every minute of it. So yeah, I'm excited for this winter and to get back racing and yeah, see what kind of see where we stand a little bit.
Can you send me a picture of you? It can either be like a headshot or an action photo to use
Yeah.
for social media, please.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. And then I'll message you and tag you in everything that comes out on Wednesday and
Awesome.
then next Wednesday as well.
Perfect. Is there anything else that you wanted to ask, or
Nope, that was
maybe do a question over again that you thought I
no.
did?
I mean, I think
Okay.
that you
Perfect.
were so nervous going in and then you crushed it. Like
Awesome.
you did perfectly.
Awesome. Okay, perfect.
All right, I'll
Well,
talk to
thank you so
you.
much.
No problem. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah. Okay. Keep in touch.
Bye.